Hello everyone, welcome to back my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. At the jazz club, Nate guesses Audra enjoyed getting into Kyle's head and teasing him with the hint about her new cosmetics company. He thinks the element of surprise would have been better. Audra wanted Kyle to know she's back, and this was a sneak peek of what's to come. She admits it felt good after the months of having doors slammed in her face, thanks to Kyle. Nate reminds her Victor played a role in that. Audra feels good being back in the game and doesn't see the harm in making Kyle squirm a little. He has no idea what a mistake he made by crossing her. Across the room, Kyle broods. Claire admits she's a little curious what this thing with Audra could be about. Is he sure it's only business? She knows they had a thing once. Kyle says it was nothing more than a fling. As for getting her fired, he just beat her to the punch. He doesn't care about her. Can we talk about something else? He asks, while throwing back a drink. Claire moves to the other side of the table, so Kyle apologizes for snapping at her. He just doesn't want to relive that time in his life. He made choices that weren't easy for him to forgive himself for. He'd like to forget the whole Glissade debacle ever happened. Claire understands, but it doesn't look like Audra's going to let him. At the other table, Audra complains that Nate's being a buzzkill. She should be able to flaunt her success to Kyle. Nate thinks she should be more concerned about this job. She's walking into the lion's den, and Victor Newman is the lion. She insists she can handle what Victor throws at her. Nate says if she was sure about this, she wouldn't have waited to tell him about it. Audra denies she has any doubts. Audra fumes that he will toast her future herself. Here's to me. Nate grabs his glass. I'll drink to that. Audra vows she'll outmaneuver all the cosmetics companies. Nate has a word of caution, Victor may be using her to get to Jack. She remembers how that played out last time, doesn't she? Audra will make sure she's protected when she signs her contracts. All she cares about is succeeding. Nate has every confidence in her and none at all in Victor. Audra assures him she's all over this, it's her time now. At Kyle's table, he tells Claire that Audra will blow a lot of smoke about competing with Jabbat, but she'll crash and burn like she always does. He wants to focus on them, and shares that he and his dad had a big win at Jabbat today. She asks what it was. He can't talk about it right now. She warns him not to do this again. If he doesn't feel comfortable talking to her about his work, why does he bring it up? Kyle says it's confidential. Claire scoffs at this excuse. He apologizes. She asks if it has to do with the suspicious employee. Kyle says it does. Claire recalls that he assured her this had nothing to do with her grandfather. Does that still stand? Kyle doesn't respond. Claire urges him to talk to her. He decides he can't keep her in the dark. The problem at Jabbat does involve Victor. He is the problem. Nikki confronts Victor. At the ranch, Nikki asks Victor about his dinner with Michael. He says they had a very good meeting. She wants to hear about it. Victor guesses she's wondering what plans he has to bring Jack Abbott to his knees. Nikki and Victor argue about Jack reigniting the war by putting her life in danger. She fumes that she has asked him to stop and end this ridiculous vendetta, but he won't. He wasn't there that night and has no idea how desperate her situation was. She hasn't had a drop of alcohol since that night, so who gets credit for that? Victor says Nikki gets credit for her sobriety and the subject is closed. Nikki insists Jack saved her life. Victor hollers that he's a loser. Nikki will keep quiet about that, but not about him attacking Kyle and Claire. Victor denies he's hurting Claire and grouses that this is just puppy love. Nikki wouldn't be so sure about that. She spends all day with Claire and sees on her face that she's in love with Kyle. Victor rants that he can't stand that guy. He will inevitably break her heart. Nikki suggests he might be the one for her. Victor says he isn't. Nikki says it's not up to him and he needs to stop controlling everyone. All he'll get out of this is Claire's resentment. Victor argues that he's always right. He promises Claire and Kyle's relationship will disintegrate. Nikki asks if he has a plan to ruin things for them. Victor knows Kyle will reveal his true colors. He's a chip off the old block. Changing the subject, he asks about Chancellor. Nikki says everything's great and Claire's a godsend. She's surprised he's not telling her she could do better. Victor respects her business acumen and says, "I love you." He tells her that in his meeting with Michael, something came up. He wants to warn her that something might happen in the future that they're not quite prepared for. Diane gets disturbing news. At the club, Diane greets Jack and notices he's in a great mood. Jack claims it's just because he loves spending time with his wonderful wife. Diane's not buying it and reminds him they don't keep secrets from each other. What really put the smile on his face? Jack tells his wife that he and Kyle found out Victor has a spy at Jabbit. Diane gawps. Jack says their son impressed the hell out of him today. He told this guy that either he turned on Victor or was thrown to the wolves. He's certain Kyle's matured. Victor is no longer a threat to their son. Those days are over. Diane thinks it's great that Kyle is growing in his role, but how did Victor plant a spy at Jabbit? Jack explains he came in through Glissade. They're doubling what Victor paid him. Diane wonders if Victor foresaw them grabbing up Glissade. Jack says it doesn't matter now, the damage control is done. Diane doubts this is over. Victor will make another move, and it will go on and on. We're just reacting. We're always scrambling around trying to put out fires Victor starts. She wonders how he'd like it if they tried to burn his company to the ground. Jack doesn't want to be like Victor. Diane understands, but they don't want his minions scattered around Jabbit. Jack says he and Kyle have their eyes on a few. It's important Victor doesn't know they are onto him. He updates her on needling Victor and Michael earlier and grumbles about Baldwin being Victor's fixer these days. He's been delivering Victor's marching orders to the spies. Diane's appalled. What a snake. She's disappointed in him. Jack warns Diane not to let Michael know how she feels. He's sure things are going to escalate. Kyle and Claire are talking about moving in together, so the stakes are going to go up. Diane is dismayed. She was looking forward to them all being together after the new renovations. Jack warns they'll need their support as they won't get any from Victor. He has a feeling he'll do everything he can to try and ruin this. Diane wishes he would leave them alone. Jack says it won't warm his cold heart, it will only make him angrier. Diane wonders if they'll ever be free of Victor's attacks. Jack guesses it will follow them to their graves, but they beat him today, so should toast to the positives. Kyle confides in Claire. In the jazz lounge, Kyle swears Claire to secrecy and then tells her Victor put a corporate spy at Jabbit. He paid him to infiltrate their business and send him sensitive information. Claire can't believe it, but Kyle says it's classic Victor. He has proof and the guy admitted it. Claire asks, why? What's the purpose? Kyle says they're not sure yet. All he knows is that it's to get back at his father. I'm sorry, Claire. This is how her grandfather operates. Quote. This is how her grandfather operates. This is who he is. Claire downs a drink and notes he's been warning her that Victor's a terrible person. This is hard and upsetting to her. Kyle assures her they're dealing with it, so it won't end up being a big thing. He takes her hand and leads her to the dance floor. Across the room, Audra tells Nate she almost feels sorry for Claire. She's staring at Kyle with big trusting doe eyes and hanging on his every word. It's never going to work out with him. Nate asks, why would it matter to you one way or the other? Watching Kyle and Claire dance. Nate says, they look happy to me. Audra muses, we'll see. Nate asks why she's worried about this couple. She's not, it was just an observation. She suggests they dance. Once they're on the floor, Audra shoots a look at Kyle. Victor warns Nikki. At the ranch, Victor tells Nikki he's concerned that Aristotle Dumas might be aiming for Chancellor. He asks if there have been new hires or employees asking a lot of questions. She says no, and asks what makes him think he's coming after Chancellor. Victor says, Billy Abbott. He explains that he's been in contact with Dumas, but he can't be interested in his ridiculous startup. Nikki knows Billy would like nothing better than to get his hands back on Chancellor. She wants to tell him they know what he's up to, but Victor warns that would be a mistake. Quote. Not now. Nikki can't understand why it's a bad idea to put them on notice. Victor says they haven't made a move yet. Dumas has to be after bigger fish than Billy's media company, and that would be Chancellor. Thanks for watching this video and please subscribe our Update World 24 YouTube channel for more update news.